Hello, I'm making a video and oh gosh, the stuff that I see on the internet, it's just heartbreaking. It's just endless insanity, endless heartbreak, endless animal suffering, human suffering, makes me suffer with them. Goes on endlessly, indefinitely. I just signed a bunch of petitions, makes me feel a little bit better. If that does anything, I don't know. But we have to sign petitions. We have to sign, this is very, very important. We have to sign this, the factory farm or farm animal reform. So this is really, really, really important. I'm going to Lady Freethinker and Wayne Purcell. Okay, so if you can go on Google, you type it in, Lady Freethinker and Wayne Purcell. They are two separate websites. They're both animal rights, and they're both urging people to sign their petition to get the farm animal reform, the animal farm reform, or factory farm reform bill. Okay, this is very, very important that we have a real drastic improvement in how the farm animals have to be living. Okay, so this is for better space so that they can turn around themselves and to end the gestation crates. This is really, really, really serious for people to sign this. So please sign this. It's important. I'm going to go find the petitions and post the link under the video, so then you don't have to look for it, but also look for it on the internet and read about it. It's important that you read about it. It's important you sign both of their petitions, Lady Freethinkers and Wayne Purcell's, and to also forward it to other people and to post it on social media. Very, very important that you do this. Infinitely important. Okay. The animals, that's my number one concern. Okay, I live for saving and protecting and rescuing animals on the internet by writing and signing petitions. So I will always rescue a dog. So this is my commitment that I'm making. And in the future, if I can, I want to rescue a draft horse. I just told my friend Sandy about that. That has always been my dream, to rescue a draft horse, a Belgian draft horse. Those are my favorite ones. Thank you, Blue God. 333. So the Blue God agrees, and the Blue God says it is possible. We can do it. Okay, this will be possible in the future. We will get all of that. So this is really, really good. This feels really good. And I want to rescue a large pig, and I want to rescue a large Holstein cow. So I want to have all of these together. Okay? And I want to have a large greenhouse for them with a soft door that is made out of soft rubber mats, so to give them insulation in the winter, but so they can go in and out of the barn as they want to, and as they go out, so that doesn't escape the heat from the barn, or anytime they go through that door, there's no heat that escapes from the barn. The animal angels agree and thank me for that. 444. Yes, that's not a coincidence. So we're gonna do it. Okay, we're gonna make this happen. So last night I was watching this crime report about that lady Lori, psychopathic murderer Lori, who murdered brutally, ruthlessly, ritualistically butchered up her children. It was all over the news recently, so it's been on different websites, YouTube and Twitter. People probably know about this story, but I want to talk a little bit about this. I don't want to dwell too much on this case, but I already talked to Paul this morning about this because it is just infinitely horrible and heartbreaking, and these kind of things go through my mind. Okay. So this lady Lori, she had everything she wanted. Okay. Beauty, gorgeous husband, nice husband too, beautiful children. They had money, everything she wanted, good friends, kind family, everything, right? So obviously, I don't know the whole picture of it, but this is what it looks like on first sight, watching these reports, watching this particular report. And yet she was into horror and butchering and those kind of things, and through watching horror films and reading horror books, she met this writer. I forgot the name. I don't even want to mention that name. That man needs to be head bolted, and that Lori needs to be head bolted, and everyone who is violent and who incites violence and who tells someone else to murder people, every one of those people need to be head bolted. That's a fact. Okay. And I wouldn't even mind if we free all the pigs from gestation crates and put those people into gestation crates, okay, instead of the pigs. So that's torture, but in this, if that's what it would take, if someone said, I'm not gonna give out the pigs, but if we can do this, if you can bring me some humans to replace the pigs in the gestation crates, then I will go out there with my colony of King Kong crane robots, and I will find, you better believe it, I will find all violent criminals like that Lori and her boyfriend, and I will bring them to the cattle slaughter chamber, and I will have them put into gestation crates, and then later they will be headboarded. So, but first they have to be living in the gestation crates for a while, because all of those are also heavy pig meat eaters. Okay. They need to know, they need to learn firsthand what it's like, but they'll probably come back as pigs in their next existence. And that's called samsara in Sanskrit. Okay, that samsara in Buddhism, it means an endless cycle of birth and rebirth, and suffering and re-suffering and learning and relearning. Okay, so, and we need to end this cycle of suffering. We need to end it. We need to bring this to an end, and we could bring it to an end if everyone took the journey into their own minds, instead of running away into a religion or cult, or into act outs, or into violence and so on. Okay. So obviously that lady wasn't right in the head. So I mean, anyone who is right in the head would never, ever do something like this, or fall into some real ritualistic satanic type of cult, okay, and do terrible things to please their boyfriends or preachers or whatever, or ministers from the devil worshippers. I mean, this is really batshit crazy. I mean, that kind of stuff. I mean, that really, and it's I already knew this was out there. I've already been researching this for years. That kind of shit that's going on in the world, the kind of insanity that is going on in the world. But to see a woman, you know, a mother, she's supposed to have female hormones, she's supposed to have oxytocin, she's supposed to feel motherly love and instincts for her children, right? But to see someone like this be really what I call a zombie. Now here's the irony about this situation. She and her boyfriend call kind-hearted people zombies. Interesting, isn't it? It's interesting how they project their own insanity onto other people, particularly onto people that are really not insane. They project that onto kind people. And I've seen that many times. And I don't know how this happens, how they can project something like this on kind people. I mean, it'd be one thing if they projected it on other total jerks, right? But to project it to, like, find the one kind person, the 1 in 100 people, and project it on those, that really takes the cake. And I just don't understand what this insanity is all about with this type of projection and with this type of targeting of kind-hearted people, including her children and her husband and the wife of her boyfriend. Okay, so apparently she's the one who murdered all 4 people with her own hands. How is this possible? How can someone do something like this? I mean, only someone who is completely insane can do something like this. And it's horror. It's a horror. It's a real horror. And all 4 of these people that she murdered are kind-hearted people. And it's almost amazing to me how there can be such a hot spot of kind-hearted people all gathering around this particular person. With all these kind-hearted people. Her brother, her first son, who was not living in the house with them, he didn't get murdered. So adult son that she has, he was absolutely shocked about this. They were all shocked. They realized they didn't know anything about her at all. So that's why I make these videos, to warn people about certain warning signs, certain red flags that are clearly visible for me, but apparently not visible to most people. So look at that person's face. Look at her face and look at her boyfriend's face. that boyfriend looks like he's like a hybrid between steer and human. Some kind of weird lab experiment that has gone wrong or something. Like someone that eats nothing but steer, cow, and pig. And guess what happens? They become that what they eat, right? They really do. They start looking like that. If you continue to eat animals, you will start looking like them. Okay. Particularly steer and and pigs. Okay. It's awful. What a horror. And so I don't even know what happened to that guy. I don't even know if he got indicted or got some kind of sentence. I have no idea. They didn't even get into it. But I think I have to admit I didn't watch the entire program, like a little more than half or something, and then I skipped towards the end because it's too depressing for me to see this. So I don't really know what the guy got, but it's pretty obvious that he brainwashed her into doing this, right? And then because he had some kind of cult that projected their own psychopathy onto kind-hearted people, and then told their cult members to murder them in very specifically cruel ways. I mean, it's just, I don't even want to get into the details. You read about it. It's just, I can't even talk about it. It's just too heartbreaking what she did to her children. It's too terrible. Okay, it's really too horrific. Really, really horrific. These kind-hearted souls that she murdered. My goodness. So, how, there are so many things in this particular example, what goes wrong with the entire human species. And I've seen many cases where there are similar elements in those cases involved. Okay, like where suddenly someone meets someone on the internet, they fall head over heels in love, they leave their entire family behind. There was one guy, he left his dog behind, locked up in the house. He didn't even tell anyone to feed the dog. The dog starved to death in front of the front door. It's those kind of things. Waiting for him for months until he starved to death and thirst to death. That story, that's the most monstrous thing there is. Nothing is as bad as that. And all kinds of things where people meet someone on the internet and then they will murder their partner for life insurance because they found someone better, or they will murder their children, or they will do some other terrible stuff or whatever, or they'll take drugs, or they will drug their partner, or all kinds of things that are happening. That Patton Oswalt, I'm almost 100% sure that he murdered his wife, Michelle, for someone, he murdered her to be able to have that other girlfriend and move in with her and cash in on life insurance. But they didn't even do an investigation on whether he had a life insurance. No one investigated them. That's also really shocking how law enforcement oftentimes, they don't even do their job. And it also has a lot to do with law enforcement people, particularly men, being guilty of the same crimes. That's why they don't want to investigate those particular crimes, because they don't want to even draw attention to something like this where it could come back in a roundabout way and expose their own crimes. So they'll stay away from that, and they'll just stick up for each other. And they will blame the victims or blame others for everything and not investigate it and not look into it. So narcissists and psychopaths blame others for their own mistakes. That's a red flag right there. So if you see something like this happening, pack up and leave. That's all I can tell you. Leave before it's too late. And never, ever, ever sign a life insurance, okay? If your partner wants you to sign a life insurance, pack up and leave. Don't sign this. Sign out of their life, okay? That's what you have to do. Very quickly. And please take your animals and your children with you. Don't leave them behind. This is very important information that I give people here. Very, very vitally important information. So read about the case, watch the report on YouTube. It's there. I forgot which channel it was, but you will find it if you put that name in. Lori, I don't know her last name, but the case will come up. That'll be the first thing that will come up. So read about it, watch it, inform yourself about this, look at the faces and study these faces. What do you see? I can tell you what I see. I see in the woman, I see total disconnect. I see a zombie, the very thing that they project onto other people in this cult. I see a zombie, and I see exactly that what she accuses other people of. I see someone who's dead on the inside, someone who has no more empathy, maybe never had. Okay, they showed some video clips of her teenage daughter who was actually protecting her little brother. Looked like she was protecting her little brother from the mother. Where she said, "This is my child. Don't come near him." Something like that. So that right there is already a complete red flag. When you see something like this happening, when you see, and I don't know what exactly went on in that video, but it seemed like the mother was taking that video and was mocking the children or something. And so the daughter had to protect her little brother. So this woman has already been completely insane, and probably has been for a very, very long time, maybe since childhood, maybe this is genetic, okay? But it doesn't really matter what caused it. So, which is a statement I'm making that goes against the establishment of our legal system. Our legal system is built on tons and tons and tons of those vicious, evil loopholes that are catering to criminals. Okay, loopholes over loopholes, exemptions over exemptions, and excuses. And if the person is insane, then he doesn't have to go to prison, or he doesn't get the death penalty. All of these horrific clauses and exemptions in our legal system that are catering criminals, that are catering to the mafia and to the corporate agenda. The mafia and the corporate agenda, they live on violent people. Violent people are their slaves and their providers and their drug users, their consumers, their deliverers of bodies and human trafficking victims, and the list goes on. Okay, so they don't want to get rid of evil people. And yeah, I used to not like this word so much. I thought it was religious, but I mean, I don't know what other word to use, Adverse probably doesn't fit good enough, So these people are evil and criminally insane. That's the right terminology for it. And yeah, they're not right in the head. Definitely. Okay. And whatever, and this is what I have to say to this. I don't give in to this exemption legal system, this clause-ridden legal system. I don't give in to this because I care. I am a compassionate animal mother. Okay, I'm the mother of all living beings, as I always say. Okay? I don't give in to this. I don't care I don't care whether this is written in stone or into the Harvard law school books. It doesn't matter. That's also probably why I couldn't become a lawyer or a judge, because I would simply not comply with a legal system that's in itself inherently evil and catering to the mafia and the corporate agenda. I could not. Okay, and that's why, I like every single courageous person in the world who does not cater to this very vicious, unethical legal system. Anyone who overrides it and says, no way, I care, I'm compassionate, I would never send someone who protests against the fur industry, send someone like this to a FEMA camp, right? Never. As a judge, as a lawyer, as a politician, would never do this, right? I recognize those are kind-hearted, compassionate people. They need to be protected. But the corporate agenda, they have changed the legal system. They have created stuff, and it started with George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. They have created a law called ETA, Animal Enterprises Terrorism Act. Okay? So this is a real vicious, evil U.S. law tweaking that they have created with that bill. Okay. But most people have their price, as Rockefeller said, and they will go along with this. They will vote that in. Okay, the senators, the Congress people will vote that in because they're all on the take. From under the table take, bribe money. Okay, so almost everyone has their price. Rockefeller said every man has his price. Okay, so I will add almost every woman too, and I have to say almost every person. Almost every person. Maybe 99.9% of the public have their price. If the price is high enough, they will do it. Maybe there's one person who will murder for $1, another person will only murder for $10,000, and another person will only do it if they are paid the right amount, like $10 million or more, right? So they're still equally corrupt, all three of them, right? So all three of them are equally criminal and callous and uncompassionate and cruel. So I mean, it's just that it just varies in intensity, right? The one who murders someone for $1 this is obviously worse, right? But they're all equally corrupt. It's just that there's a variation in the amount of money. So that's the only difference. Anyone who says, so if the price is just right, then they would sell their child into human trafficking. And anyone like this is a heartless, callous person and should be headbolted, in my personal view. Okay. So I say the legal system is so corrupt, has been so corrupted, has been rewritten, has been Barack Obama and Dick Cheney have reinstated torture methods. Torture was supposed to be completely illegal, according to the first settler presidents of the United States. Okay. The people who have written the U.S. constitutional rights. Okay, so they wanted to make sure of that. They were hoping this is sort of like written in concrete. They didn't realize that a couple of 100 years later, there will be completely, totally corrupt people that will even rewrite the Constitution. And that's what George W. Bush and Barack Obama and Dick Cheney, together with the mafia, have done. Okay. There was a guy, I emailed him. His name is Joe, and he was he's an animal rights activist, someone who really does something physically, not just sign petitions. He's in the United States, and it was one day before he was going to blow the whistle on the fur industry, what the fur industry is doing. They electrocute animals and they butcher animals up, and some of them pull the skin off the animals without any kind of knocking them unconscious, without any kind of anesthesia. These animals are fully conscious, without any pain medicine, fully conscious and sentient and alive, and feel every bit of it. And they are screaming their heads off in pain. Okay, so he was going to blow the whistle on this. He had some kind of radio host that was willing to let him speak. There was a big radio channel somewhere in the Midwest, I believe. And the word somehow got around to the mafia, to the corporate agenda, and the way they have their leverage in law enforcement and in the legal system, they got law enforcement to raid his house without even a search warrant and confiscate all of his computers and summon him to court and being sentenced to some kind of judge or something, without even a court trial. That was like a real quick judge type of situation. He wasn't even allowed to contact his family members, and that's what George W. Bush has done. Okay, and it was right after George W. Bush had changed the law on this. So, ETA, Animal Enterprises Terrorism Act, okay, because they want to make sure that people get brainwashed hearing animal rights and terrorism in one sentence, which has nothing to do with each other. Islam and terrorism should be in one sentence, not animal rights. Animal rights is peace. Animal rights is making the world a better place. I want to make this very crystal clear to people. So then they brought him for half a year to an Arizona FEMA prison camp, like a concentration camp that they have out there in the desert of Arizona, with unimaginably cold and unimaginably hot temperatures. He said that the prison guards were nice to him because they recognized right away that he's not in any way a dangerous person or a criminal or anything that they are used to normally. So they treated him well, and he was grateful for that. For half a year he had to be there because he was trying to make the world a better place. This was also a warning from the corporate agenda towards all other animal rights activists, saying, don't even attempt something. Don't blow the whistle on anything, because you're going to go to a FEMA prison camp. Okay. This is what's happening. Okay, people need to know. I think it's very important that people understand this whole entire situation. So I contacted him, and I'm sure that many other animal rights activists contacted him and thanked him for his outstanding work and for his bravery and for his self-sacrifice to be willing to go to prison to bring an end to the fur industry and also an end to factory farms and many other things. There are many, many, many problems in the world that are going on. Almost endlessly, many problems that are happening. And good people like that Joe and like Paul Watson, Peter Hammerstedt, Ingrid Newkirk, they do something about this. They really do something about it. And my friend Sandy, okay, and many other people, but these people are still there. The people that are going out of their ways to save another living being or many other living beings and risking their lives. Those people are in such a minority that there would be people like this are like 1 in 10,000 people or 1 in 100,000 people. And the people that are going out on the boat to save the whales with Paul Watson, they are, as Paul Watson said, they are 1 person in 1 billion humans. Now, look at it, look at the facts of this, look at the statistics of this, and understand a little bit more about the statistics of humans. Okay. So, and I personally, I would be very surprised if the statistics was not like this. I would be very surprised actually if the majority of humans were brave and risking their lives to save another life. I would be very surprised. That would be a miracle. Obviously, evolution has not brought this into existence. If we look at evolution and biology, we can clearly see that most humans are apes. Okay. And they're not just apes. They are vicious, violent, and corrupt apes. That's the fact. This needs to be understood. Okay. So for anyone out there who worships humans, who puts a human embryo on a pedestal over a cow, over an adult cow. I had some very nasty people write to me on Twitter. So this is for them. If you put a human embryo over an adult cow, that makes you a callous, cold-hearted person. That's all I can say to this, okay? So now I want to talk about how we can heal this for the last couple of minutes of my video. We need to not just look at the issues, we also need to look at the solutions. Okay, the solutions are very, very visibly there. There's a solution, not just a solution. There is an elegant, most amazing, most abundant, most voluptuous solution for every single problem in the world. This is what I learned in my life. And it makes me feel good to know that, you know. So the solution to all of these problems in the world is we need therapy help centers where people can go to and find real friends, find real community, find a real communal, happy life for as many hours as they want per day. You know, they can be in their house, and they can also go to a community center that's in every single community, in every single town and district worldwide. Okay, so there's a therapy help center in each district, and we can convert every church into a therapy help center. Every single church, no matter what the church is about, what kind of congregation or denomination that is all about, we need to change it into, could be a mosque, we need to change it into a therapy help center. Make sure to go in there with a bundle of sage leaves, right? Yeah, with sage incense. If you go into any particularly the mosque, so you really want to first go through there with your bundle of sage, and you want to do some saging in every single room, right? That's a puja, that's an energy cleansing ritual. When I was a child, I went to a therapist, and she had a chimney, and a lot of times we would be lighting the chimney logs that are in the fireplace, and we would put newspapers in there, crumpled up, and I would help with that. And I was just like 5 or 6 years old, and we would crumple up the newspapers, and we would throw them into the fireplace, and we would watch them become charcoal and then really lightweight, and then flutter up into the chimney and out of the chimney, off the roof. And I would always say to her, she didn't say anything, I was the one who came up with this. I said, and now all these evil spirits and ghosts can flutter up into the chimney and out of the house. So I knew, I understood very well the significance of that puja. Okay. Puja, the cleaning, comes from the word, has to do with the word pure. Yeah. Puja is a Sanskrit word, but it is, as every word in Sanskrit has also word relations outside of Sanskrit, obviously. Has word relations in the whole world, in all countries. So there it is. The blue god agrees. 4444. That's the truth. No coincidence. So yeah, cleansing, energy cleansing, okay? So the White House needs to be energy cleansed. I don't think Donald Trump did that after Barack Obama. I don't think Donald Trump believes in these kind of things. So I think he's a very rational, reasonably minded genius. That's what he is, and he's probably not dealing very much with those kind of occult beliefs, right? That's what he looks like. He looks very put together and very rational and reasonable, and he has to be, obviously. But if I had been there in one job or another, I would have brought some kind of puja in there. It was necessary. I saw someone comment on YouTube who said that Donald Trump should do an energy cleansing of the White House before he goes in there. And I really felt that person. I felt the same thing. So it's necessary. It's very necessary, because Jiddu Krishnamurti talked about this also. He said sometimes he would go for very long hikes on his own, and he would get to some kind of place or some kind of forest, and he would feel something, and he would notice that people have gathered there just prior to him arriving there. So they must have seen him walk down the hiking path, and they quickly packed up and left. And I assume that there could have been ritualistic cults and devil worshippers that may have done something terrible there, right? And by the time Jiddu Krishnamurti got there, he didn't see a person, but he could feel it. It was there. The energy was still there. And the energy said to him, "Don't come here. Go away." This is actually an energy that forms. Okay? That just lives for a few minutes. Okay? It becomes an entity, an energy that has been formed by the energies of the people that have been there. Their ego energies, their troll energies, their sadistic energies. Okay, so their need to have power over another living being. So that lingered there like a foreboding, as they call it. And he said it stayed for a few minutes, and he stayed there with it, and he didn't say what he did. He didn't talk about it, but I know what he did. He stayed there, and he felt compassion for that, for the people who have been there, for the victims, and for that entity that had formed itself from those horrible energies from the people. Okay, he felt sorry for that energy. Okay, and he stayed there with it, and he felt this through. This is the inwardness process. Okay, so that's why this is what I want to tell people. This is very, very important information. When you come across a religion or a cult, and they tell you that you need to do a devil worshipping or some kind of like a devil demonic exorcism or something, or if they tell you to kill someone else because someone tells you that these people are whatever, demons or zombies or whatever, be very crystal clear about it. These people are insane and psychopathic. Do not believe it. Don't go along with something like this. And there are religions and there are cults that may not be so overtly violent and in your face, right? And it's a little bit more tricky to discern with some of them. But the Mormon Church is also doing this, okay? But in a more they'll probably denounce someone as possessed or whatever, or depending also on the person. I'm not saying every Mormon is like that, but there are some pockets where people are really, really insane from the Mormon church and from other religions as well. So when you hear any kind of, you hear some kind of crucible, like a witch hunt or some kind of denouncing of people, or some kind of condemning of people, or some kind of particularly like bad gossiping about someone else, be very well aware that's not coming from a clean and clear and pure mind. Okay. Any kind of like judgment and negative talking, backstabbing, extortions of religious nature, or some kind of superstitiousness that turns on someone, be very well aware that does not come from a pure mind state. That comes from a very mentally ill, from a very psychopathic and very unwell mental state. And most humans are not well. This is a fact. I'm sorry to have to say it, but it is the fact. Okay? That's why I make these videos, to bring awareness to the world, so that people can pay attention to it and take that journey into their own minds. Okay? Don't take offense to this. Okay? If you are religious, or if you have listened to shit like that and believed it, don't take offense. Be very glad that I'm warning you about this. Be glad that I'm giving you good advice for your life. Don't follow these kind of negative things anymore. Okay? Follow the light. Okay? Follow love. Follow peace. Follow those people, whether they're religious or not. Follow those and make friends with those who speak about peace and making the world a better place and saving the earth and the animals. Okay? Stick with those. Stick with love. Stick with mother instinct. Stick with oxytocin. Stick with perpetual peace and sunshine of love. Sunbeams of love. Okay? Positivity. Kindness. Compassion. Not just there are some calls that are like positivity and nothing else. Okay? We also have to look at the issues. We can't just turn a blind eye, obviously. We have to look at the issues that are going on, and we have to find the solutions for it. And the solutions are inwardness meditation, and we need to have therapy help centers. We need to turn every single religious institution, even Red Cross centers and other institutions. We need to turn all of those into therapy help centers where people cook together, where they get educated, where they watch educational films together, where they discuss things, where we have a group therapy session from 5 to 8 every day in the evening, okay, every single day, so that people have this option. They have this vent. They have this friend circle where they can feel safe, where every single person talks about their issues, where you don't have to be afraid that someone else who doesn't talk about their issues will make fun of you or will call you names or something. That seems to be feared, particularly by men, really badly. So men are affected at least 10 times worse than women in this way, in this group think and peer pressure and echo chamber type of way. Yet they are the ones who will project it and blame other people, blame the good people for the echo chamber. See how this is what I observe. they will always twist it around, deflect from themselves, and project it onto someone else. Okay, this has to stop. Okay, if we want to make the world a better place, you have to go into your own mind, and we have to reform every religious building, house, church, temple, that is out there. Every actual institution that is out there, in-person building, okay, turn it around, reform it into a therapy help center where people can go to it, and where they're not judged, and where they're supported, and where they're protected, where they feel safe to talk about their issues, and where people can heal their mental illness, where even violent criminals can heal their mental illness. The Blue God says, right now, 5555, and this is the truth. And I'm ending the video. Peace and love.